Ranjan colleagues, while opening over 150 webinars on Rethinking City in the last 5 years, almost last 5 years, I've always started with welcoming the participants, the viewers. Today, I make a small departure and welcome the guests from All India Institute of Local Self-Government, which is celebrating 100 years of its existence and its pioneering work. If 809 cities are the future of this country of 1,400 million people, and if 638,000 villages, an institution that has witnessed and in some ways influenced and shaped India's habitat transformation from rural to urban is not only very valuable in what it has in form of lessons and experiences to share based on its 100 years of journey, but also has much to say in how the country should handle its daunting urban challenge. I'm saying not only 100 years of history, but future as well. We need All India Institute's accumulated wisdom as we navigate our ways to making a Viksit Bharat of $30 trillion economy in 2047. And everyone knows that the cities will have to play a critical role and make a significant contribution if that were to happen. Cities are very critical for our future. Let me therefore thank individually today's special guests and panel members for their partnership and their presence. Thank you, Dr. Jairaj Phatak Sahab, Director General of All India Institute of Local Self-Government, Shri Ravi and Guru, Deputy Director General, Professor Sneha Palnitkar, whom I have known since my early days in ASPAC, Srimati Ayesha Saeed, Deputy News Editor of Urban Update, who is also moderating today's webinar, Shri Sudhir Krishna Sahab, former Secretary of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. Dr. Kuldeep Singh is not there, he is there. Dr. Kuldeep Singh, whom I have known for a very long time since his HSMI days. Shri Tikender Panwar, whose commitment to urban issues is exemplary, and Shri Hitesh Vaidya, who brings enormous wisdom, deep sensitivity, and spatial vision to urban issues. I can't imagine a more accomplished group of presenters on the urban institution history and urban institution building imperative in the context of what India as a nation expects from its cities. Today is the 152nd webinar of the series on Rethinking City that INHAF is running with its multiple distinguished partners. And with such a galaxy of special guests today, I cannot resist temptation of telling them why we are doing this for the last 5 years and what we plan achieving. I also have other expectations from this distinguished group. We want to hear from them if our reasons and our explanation scan their scrutiny of understanding and analysis of India's urban challenge. This series of webinars is based on a 6-point analysis of India's urban challenge and the way and approach to addressing it. At the heart of the idea are some concerns, some expectations, even worries and targets. Let me spell this out, and I'm very keen that I do this in front of all India Institute of Local Self-Government. One, despite being engines of growth and centers of culture, technology, knowledge, and global attention and investment, our cities, the Indian cities, are not in the pink of health. Be that small or big, industrial or commercial, district town or state capital. And the sector may be environment or water or governance or planning or slums or housing or rivers or municipal finance, any subject. They are all saddled with major challenges. This is the first part of the analysis, that our cities are saddled with major challenges. The second, and that is not enough, the bigger challenge is that the cities as they are and the way they are functioning, growing and developing, do not look like meeting adequately the challenge of unprecedented urbanization India is witnessing. It neither looks like providing safe, productive, and healthy quality of life to 870 million people who will be there in our cities in 25 more years, almost double of today. Nor does it look like delivering on 7 to 8% economic growth the country expects to get rid of its poverty and emerge as an economic superpower. This is the second thing. That it's not only that they are saddled with problems and challenges, but what we have does not give us huge hope that it can deliver both in terms of needs of 870 million people as well as 7 to 8% growth we require. The third thing, though concerted effort is being made, the governmental effort alone is not adequate to ensure healthy, livable, productive, inclusive, and sustainable cities. Government alone cannot do it. The fourth part of the analysis is the wider society, and this is to me very important. The wider society, the human capital outside the government system, in industry, in business, in form of professional, civil society, they all have the required skills, knowledge, experience, and even motivation to contribute meaningfully in search for alternative approaches and new solutions. And the last, the fifth, we are fast running out of time. Need better approaches and innovation and good solutions early, as those on hand do not look like working, and the delay is causing enormous harm to the planet, to nature, to environment, and to people. This webinar, these are the reasons this webinar series is a part of a wider national societal effort in conjunction and partnership with government aimed at bringing not only fresh ideas and new perspectives, but also new voices and a new collectivism, new togetherness, new partnership, and new energy in articulating the need for and the ways to reach our cities. Both redefining the urban
मेरा
challenge.
एक बैग निकाल के दे सकते हो?
both redefining the urban challenge and finding more effective ways to address it.
मेरे पास वो है कान में सुनाई देने वाला
Mr. Kulwant Singh, can you mute yourself?
It is taking the urban matter. The whole idea is the whole webinar series that we're running for last 5 years and 152nd installment today. Idea is to take the urban challenge, make them participant, build a societal partnership so that we can deal with the complex issues that we are facing. In order to kind of press my point, I time and again say that India's urban challenge is probably complex, more complex than the climate challenge that we are facing. So with this rather long introduction, I hand this over to Ayesha ji to conduct the business of the day and business session. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much for the partnership, and thank you very much for what we will hear today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kirti Shah. Thank you for such a warm welcome. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this webinar co-hosted by Habitat Forum INHAF and All India Institute of Local Self-Government. I especially thank everyone who has joined at this post-lunch hour on a Friday afternoon. My name is Ayesha Saeed, and I'm Deputy News Editor at Urban Update. It's a real privilege for me to be moderating today's session because it marks a milestone that only a handful of Indian organizations have managed to reach today. Established in 1926, the All India Institute of Local Self-Government is completing 100 years of service to local governance in India. Today's session is titled AIILSG at 100, Empowering Local Governments for a Developed India. And over the next 2 hours, we'll look back at a century of work of strengthening urban local bodies, and also look ahead at what the next century might hold, especially as India moves towards the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. I'm seeing a lot of questions and raised hands. So I would like to make a quick note right now. We'll be taking questions from the audiences during the Q&A segment towards the end. So please drop your questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll pick them up later. There's someone, people are, I think, also requesting for us to speak in, some people are asking us to speak in Gujarati or Hindi. हम थोड़ा बहुत इंग्लिश और हिंदी के मिक्स में बातचीत करेंगे. आई थिंक गुजराती मुझे नहीं आती गुजराती बोलने, and I think it'll be difficult for everyone involved here. So I think English और हिंदी हमारी common languages हैं जो I think सबको समझ में आएंगी. तो yeah, sorry for any inconvenience to anyone. I would like to invite, first of all, Mr. Ravi Ranjan Guru, who's Deputy Director General at AIILSG, to formally welcome our panelists and audience and introduce us to AIILSG's centenary journey. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ayesha. And yeah, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, respected Dr. Jairaj, Phatak, sir, Director General, All India Institute of Local Self-Government, Chief Guest and Keynote Speaker. Also, Sri Kirti Shah, founder of ASAG and Habitat Forum. Our distinguished eminent panelist, Mr. Hitesh Vaidya ji, Sudhir, Krishna, sir, Dr. Kulwant Singh ji, Tikender, Panwar ji, Sneha madam, distinguished participants from India and abroad, and representative of urban local body, government officials, their partners, and their colleagues. It's nice to welcome all of you for this webinar. Very welcome to all of you. It's my privilege to welcome you for this 152nd edition of the webinars that the Habitat Forum is running, series of webinar series, and we are jointly organizing this webinar today as a part of our 100 years celebrations. So once again, welcome all of you for this in webinar. Today's webinars hold special significance as AIILSG celebrate 100 years of service to local government. For a century, our institution has worked with one clear mission to strengthen our local bodies, capacity building programs, technical support, policy programs, institutional capacity development programs. Our theme today, empowering local government for develop India, is not merely a discussion stop, progressing towards the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. Vision cannot be achieved by national policies alone. What Krishna also mentioned about it. So it will be realized through the empowered cities, capable municipalities, responsive local government, and active citizen participation, and engaging all the stakeholders that part of the entire program. Today, more than one-third India's population lives in urban areas, contributing nearly two-thirds of
Ravi Saab, there is some problem with your system. Also, it's not very clear. You probably will have to be slightly louder. We're not able to hear you.
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry,
It's slightly better, but still, I think
okay?
there is.
I can.
Let's see.
Now it's okay.
This
Okay,
better.
so
Better,
like I was saying that, is it okay for everyone?
It's better. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it was slightly a little ahead was much better. Yeah.
Okay. So, like I was saying that today is more than one-third of India's population lives in urban areas, contributing nearly two-thirds of the national GDP. In the coming decades, our cities will become even more important as a center of economic growth, innovation, and opportunities. However, they also face complex challenges, including, of course, there are a lot of urban challenges already we are facing, but that also be included with the climate change and, of course, the rapid urbanization, waste management, mobility, housing, of course, housing affordability, water security, public health, digital transformation, financing, infrastructure. So there are these rapid urbanization and these will be keep adding into the programs. The answer to these challenges lies in the is in the making strong the local governance structures. At AILSG, we firmly believe that the municipalities must evolve from being service provider to becoming the professional institutional capable of planning, financing, implementing and governing the sustainable urban development programs. Over the last century, AIILSG has continuously supported this transformation by working closely with the central ministries, state government, urban local bodies, and the relevant organizational like international organization, development agencies, and the academic institution and the private sector. Today, AILAG work on the various components, various activities. We are one of the organization who has maximum number of capacity building programs. That capacity building programs runs across these sectors, across these tiers. So we have the capacity building program for elected representative body, municipal officers, engineers, and all profile of the system. We also work on the urban planning and the infrastructural advisory component. Like we have been working on the GIS-based master plan for many cities in India. We have worked more than 50 cities in India where we have developed master plan. Like some of the cities are even remotely placed, like in Arunachal Pradesh cities. We have been working in the Kargil master plan. Is one of the toughest the areas where it's very hard to reach. In fact, but AILSG has been working on the urban planning and infrastructure advisory. We are providing the support to the climate resilience cities planning and the nature based solutions. Recently we have worked with the in 3 cities in Maharashtra under the UNDP programs, where we actually developed the disaster risk reduction plan for the cities. We work with some of the cities with the national partner on the climate resilience inclusive cities, which was supported by the European Union programs. We're working on the solid waste management and circular economic initiative across India. More than 100 cities we are supporting in this part. In fact, Maharashtra, more than 140 ULB's solid waste management DPR and the support system was provided by the organization AIILSG. We work with the Karnataka sanitation plans, develop the sanitation plans for. We are the one of the organization who has the maximum number of support system in terms of sanitary inspector diploma. So we have every year more than 7,000 students passing out through this diploma in sanitary inspector programs. We're working on the sustainable finance and the project development programs, like we are supporting the Odisha and the Finance Commission report. We worked on the Haryana Finance Commission's programs. In fact, when Sudhir Krishna sir was the chairperson of Delhi, we were the part of that also. And of course, thanks sir for supporting us in this program. We run the skill development and urban livelihood programs as well, like in Jharkhand, where right now I am here. We're running the mega skill centers, which are providing the lot of youth to get the job skill programs and activities. So we strongly believe that the knowledge sharing is one of the most powerful tools for the urban transformation. And I think that today's webinars reflect that philosophy. We are honored to have an exceptional panel representing diverse perspectives from public policy, urban governance, municipal administration, waste management, research, media, and the city leadership. Their collective experience will enrich our understanding of what is required to build the resilient and the future-ready local government. At AIILSG Center, its second century at AIILSG, we reaffirms our commitment to becoming an even stronger knowledge institution for urban India. We shall continue supporting cities through innovations, partnership, technology, professional excellence, and the evidence-based policy making. I sincerely thank INHAF for partnering with us in this important knowledge initiatives. I also thanks all our speakers, participants, and colleagues for joining us today for this webinar. I encourage everyone to actively engage in this discussion, share experience, ask questions, and contribute our ideas. That's the beauty of this webinar. Together, we can create practical solutions that strengthen the local governments and accelerate India's journeys towards becoming a developed nation. With these words, I once again extend a warm welcome to each one of you. Thank you for joining us, and I'm over to you, Ayesha. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. आपने बहुत ही अच्छा समराइज किया, जो कि हालांकि बहुत मुश्किल है इतनी बड़ी संस्था का इतना सारा काम को इतनी कम वक्त में समराइज करना. Going forward, I would like to request all the participants to keep the time limit in mind. Okay, moving forward, it is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Jairaj Phatak, who is Director General of AIILSG. Although he has been introduced, let me introduce him once again. He is an IS officer of the 1978 batch who retired from service in 2015. He served as the 25th Municipal Commissioner of the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation. Over more than 3.5 decades of service, Dr. Phatak has been known for his sharp insight and inspiring leadership. Sir, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. As Director General of the All India Institute of Local Self-Government, I welcome all the participants for this webinar. Although in the IAS I will be completing 50 years of service very shortly, my urban exposure is also now almost 40 years. It was in 1987 that I was posted as Municipal Commissioner, Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Corporation, which is the industrial suburb of Pune. I also had the benefit of working in the rural local bodies. So as I see it, the cities are much better off than villages. In fact, the process of development is really the shift of jobs from primary sector to secondary and tertiary sectors. Some of the cities have even better credit rating than the state governments. So cities must shoulder more responsibilities. So as I see it, in the next 25 years, we should plan in such a way that cities shoulder more responsibilities than today probably the state government or parastatals are shouldering. Number one, water supply and sewerage. This is very, very locally consumed good, although it may come from a distance. But it is the municipal responsibility only in Western India. Elsewhere, there are water supply boards, metro water supply boards. So the citizens, I had used this Hindi phrase in Delhi, कि आटे दाल का भाव पता होता है, मगर पानी का भाव पता नहीं होता. How costly is water, and we have to conserve water. Now the shortage, if any, of the commodities which are going to face, one of them is water. It is one of the most important resources. So water supply and sewerage must be handed over to the cities, and the city should try to get water budgets balanced, which is the practice in the Mumbai Municipal Corporation. There is a budget G where they match the income as well as expenditure. In Maharashtra, I doubt whether any other city really matches income with expenditure. Usually the expenditure exceeds income and then it is to be subsidized through the budget. In fact, except Mumbai, Pune and maybe Pimpri-Chinchwad, maybe Navi Mumbai, almost all other municipal corporations in Maharashtra are defaulters of the state electricity board. So effectively their water is cross-subsidized by the state governments. So somebody who is perhaps better off, enjoys a better credit rating, he must take care of his water. So that should be the first item in our agenda for the next 25 years. The second point, as I see it, is property tax. The cities are very reluctant to improve their property tax collections. One important reform which was done in Mumbai was to shift property tax to capital value. Because capital value means you have a circle rate or a ready reckoner rate. It is very difficult to hide what is the real estate value of your building in an urban city. Already people are paying the stamp duty whenever they sell or buy properties at the ready reckoner rate. So absolutely there is no reason why people should not be ready to link the property tax to capital value. But it becomes a political issue. Only in Mumbai and Kolhapur Municipal Corporation followed that they link the property tax rates to what are circle rates, which are called ready reckoner rates in Maharashtra. This will have to be an important reform because as the real estate prices rise, automatically the water prices, automatically the property tax will rise in the city, which will take care of the needs. The third reform, as I see, in Maharashtra, it was not planned, but it happened. Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Maharashtra abolished octroi during the last 2 decades. Only Maharashtra gave really adequate compensation. They paid the last octroi collection plus annual increment of 8% per annum. This means that the municipal corporations in Maharashtra did not lose their credit rating. They kept on getting almost the same money which they were getting through octroi. I found that probably about 11% of the state GST grants, the state GST share, today goes to the municipal corporations in Maharashtra. So some such formula will have to be arrived because only on property tax cities cannot survive. Means nor will they be able to be the engine of growth which they are supposed to be. So every state finance commission has to probably calculate what proportion of state GST should be given to cities so as to make them sustainable. It will vary from state to state. Number one, GST incomes are different. Secondly, the urban population is different in various states. But I suppose this is a need of the hour without which cities cannot have a credit rating above the state government, which they need because they are the growth centers. The last reform which has come to my mind is that the FSI, floor space index, that is FAR, it ought to be linked to circle rate because it is the most congested areas, or rather the most, like the highest FSI or FAR we know is in Manhattan, which also has the highest real estate prices in the USA or in the world. So ready reckoner rate in say Nariman Point cannot be the same as in Borivali or Daisar, and the FSI also, if it is linked, may not be in a linear proportion, could be in a formula worked out by the architects. Then wherever the real estate value is the highest, will get more FSI. And there will be relatively less FSI in areas where the property prices are lower. So as I see it, these 4 or 5 items will constitute the agenda of reforms for the municipal bodies. We are a democratic country, and ultimately what is acceptable and what is not acceptable will have to be worked by respective state governments and the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that rich reflection and for recapping so effectively what I think some of the major urban challenges are for Indian cities today. Now, that brings us to the heart of the discussion today, which is our panel discussion. I'm delighted to be joined by 5 distinguished experts working at the intersection of urban governance, planning, and public policy. The introductions have already happened, so I will move past the introductions, and I would like to first address Dr. Sudhir Krishna. Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Yes. Hi. I would like to ask you because my first question to you is about you have worked at the highest echelons of the government system, especially as a secretary in the Ministry of Urban Affairs. You've seen urban policy both designed and implemented at the ground level. So from that vantage point, I would like to ask you, what is the real significance of an institution like AIILSG, which operates both as a training body and as a think tank within India's urban governance and has done for the last 100 years?
Well, at the outset, I convey my greetings to Dr. Jairaj, Phatak, Director General, and all the core team of the AIILSG, seniors and at all levels who are here, and also to my fellow panelists and to all the participants or attendees. जो सभी यहाँ पर हैं उन सभी को मेरा नमस्कार. आपका क्वेश्चन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, AIILSG क्या कर सकते हैं. See, as Dr. Phatak has said that cities are the urban areas, they are the leaders of the country. अभी तो लीडरशिप हुआ ही नहीं है कुछ. Only 1/3 of the population of the country is in urban areas. It has to reach sooner or later, 50% or even cross that also. और वो बहुत जरूरी इसलिए कि लैंड होल्डिंग्स आर डिक्लाइनिंग. अभी लैंड होल्डिंग्स आर ऑफ द साइज ऑफ 1 hectare average. Average means it is only in dry areas, mostly people have more than 1 hectare. Otherwise, irrigated lands are in the average range of 1 hectare and many a time less than. So people cannot survive on that small piece of land. So they have to come to cities, and cities have to receive them in 2 ways. Cities have to welcome the in-migrant in 2 ways. One is by providing infrastructure. Infrastructure by way of proper housing, proper water supply, proper, clean air, road connectivity, mobility solutions, and flood-free cities, and so on and so forth. I mean, environment, ecologically and otherwise healthy and happy cities as far as environment. And secondly, the cities have to provide employment opportunities. Employment opportunities to people, for which cities have to become the hub for multi-purpose hub. Not only for abode for living, but also for economic activities and for and in between for enjoyment, pleasure and entertainment activities, as well as for parks and open spaces, lakes, and so on and so forth. So a happy living. Because why happy living? Because rural areas, by definition, are supposed to be preserving their natural habitat much better, whereas urban areas are under pressure of population. So we have to create and nurture and maintain the various ecological simulations we have to make or preserve what nature has given. So these two things cities have to do, and for that there are challenges. Our cities are not prepared for that. Right from the independence time, in the northern India, particularly in Delhi and else surrounding Delhi, the migrant population came and cities were not prepared. So therefore, you find slummification of city, and people migrated for lack of proper attention to economic development for part of the cities and elsewhere. People migrated to existing industrial hubs like Mumbai and like Calcutta, and therefore slummification started in those cities also. So in Delhi, it started because of migration on account of partition, and in other cities, industrial cities, because of the migration on account of industrial activities. And the cities were not prepared. So this led to slummification and cities got complicated. There are rich people having nice like abodes and shining abodes, and there are majority of the population is in slums. So now we have to reverse that. Whether the example of the Mumbai that Adani's project is there, whether that or somewhere else, some others are also trying. All that we have to AIG will have to showcase as to how to make cities happy living from various angles, good case studies from some slum redevelopment, flood-free cities. It's a peculiar thing that cities are starved of water in summers and they are flooded even by a short spell of rain. There is a flooding. So because water bodies have been all, are closed, the ingress to water bodies has been stopped for one or the other reason, and also the natural drains are also choked and encroached and whatever not maintained. Even engineered drains are also not properly maintained and so on. So mapping and restructuring, redesigning the natural drainage flow also. Good case studies. Cities become, you save water, it goes to underground, nurtures the aquifer, surface water bodies are recharged, life becomes good, plant trees. It's not at all costly. These things don't cost much. They pay return far more than what you invest in a short time. So land values improve. You spend less money on healthcare of people. If the air is clean, water is clean, accidents are less, pothole-free roads, and public transportation is available. Walkways are good, cycle paths are good. So accidents will be less. People will fall sick less, and expenditure on health will come down, and so on. People will give attention to economic activity, social activity, educational activity. So quality of life and so on will improve. So good case studies on these matters. Solid waste management, big challenge. Cities are having big challenge in handling current layer waste, and what about legacy waste remains another challenge. Some are making good efforts, some have made, but very few. So we have to highlight how the good case studies have happened in respect of solid waste management. Legacy waste has been cleared, and land is very valuable. All legacy waste areas are prime lands actually today. They were not so before. Today they are in prime areas. So if you clear, you get crores of rupees per acre of the cleared land. It will be a minefield of money for municipal bodies. So good case studies we have to identify. And so that is another. And similarly, the industrial activity also, where good industrial estates have been developed, connected with residential activities in a systematic manner. We have got some examples here and there. Navi Mumbai is there, and Noida, Greater Noida, and other examples are also there. So like that, good case studies have to be highlighted. And only reach issue is there. How do we reach? You see, अभी I was seeing अभी लोगों ने पोस्ट किया है इसमें आपके चैट बॉट में कि please deliberate in Gujarati, also other language. So that is one challenge you have to meet using technology, that how to reach the people in their own language. Language is a big connector. And if everything is connected in
Absolutely.
Hindi, I tell you, Hindi
Uh,
is different. Hindi of Rajasthan is different than Hindi of Bihar. Please, both of us, we think they are all
Absolutely.
Hindi belt. It is not so.
सर आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू मतलब आप माइग्रेशन की इतनी बात कर रहे हैं विच इज़ आई मीन वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग एंड इम्पॉर्टेंट strain of discussion of discourse in our cities. Migration, and it also connects to like issues of language and everything. But I would like to ask you ki, like how our cities are, I mean, how far our cities are capable of taking this, strain of endless migration into our cities, and what do we need to do in order to change or improve or, yeah.
देखिए, मैं आपका परमिशन लेके हिंदी में बोलना चाहता हूँ। वो इसलिए कि
बिल्कुल
मैं देख
बिल्कुल।
रहा हूँ चैटबॉट पर बहुत से लोग गुजराती कह रहे हैं। मुझे दुख हो रहा है कि इसमें अगर अगले बार से आप इसमें ऑटोमेटिक ट्रांसलेशन का वो आ रहे हैं। मैंने आपको लिखा भी था पिछले 30 जून को, जो गुरु जी ने, रवि रंजन जी ने प्रोग्राम किया था, उसमें मैंने कहा कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का ऐप है भाषणी। भाषणी will simultaneously translate all the proceedings into 38 languages, not one or two, 38 Indian languages. So program will become far more, it will improve immediately at no cost to you, at no cost to you, because it is an organization. I suppose the organizations are given free. तो आपसे मैं अनुरोध करूंगा गुजराती भाइयों से कि आप कृपया हिंदी में मुझे बोलने के सुन लीजिए, और आप देखिए उसको अगर ट्रांसलेट कर सकें तो अगली बार करेंगे ये। मैडम, आपने पूछा है कि इन माइग्रेंट ये बहुत ज़रूरी है। मेरा ये कहना है कि सबसे पहले तो हमें घबराना नहीं चाहिए कि शहरों में बहुत लोग आ गए हैं। इट इज़ नॉट सो। अगर आप डेटा आपको मैं दिखाऊं तो अर्बनाइजेशन रेट हैज़ कम डाउन। जो अर्बनाइजेशन का ग्रोथ रेट है वो नीचे आ रहा है। जो आज से 10 साल पहले 3% हुआ करता था एनुअल, वो अब 2% उससे भी कम हो गया है। लोग आना नहीं चाह रहे हैं शहरों में। बड़े शहरों में तो और भी कम आ रहे हैं। जो आ रहे हैं परिवार को पीछे छोड़ के मेल मेंबर आ रहे हैं यहाँ पर, जो आके सिक्योरिटी गार्ड का और क्या कहते हैं वो कोरियर सर्विस है, अमेजॉन टाइप का कोरियर सर्विस का काम कर रहे हैं। और मेजर एक्टिविटीज़ के लिए बहुत कम लोग आ रहे हैं बिकॉज सिटीज आर नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड। तो देखिए, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की, भारत सरकार की स्कीम है प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना। उसमें 1 करोड़ घर बना चुके हैं और 1 करोड़ और बनाने को तैयार हैं। पैसे की कोई कमी नहीं है, बैंक पैसे देने को तैयार है। तो अगर हम प्रॉपर लेआउट डेवलप करना काम है किसका, वो डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी का काम है। वो करेंगे, म्यूनिसिपैलिटी नहीं कर पाएगी। तो हमारे प्रोग्राम में डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी को भी इन्वॉल्व करना पड़ेगा। हम उनको म्यूनिसिपैलिटी से अलग नहीं मान सकते हैं। सो डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी के साथ मिलके हमें लेआउट डेवलप करने हैं जहाँ सारी फैसिलिटीज़ हों, यहाँ कनेक्टिविटी हो। शहर में आना है अगर स्कूल की पढ़ाई करने के लिए बच्चों को, तो वो अच्छा रोड हो और अच्छी बस सर्विस हो। अगर मेट्रो हो तो और अच्छी बात है, हर जगह मेट्रो नहीं जाएगी, तो कम से कम बस सर्विस हो, अच्छी साफ़ सुथरी रोड हो, साइकिल से आने जाने की फैसिलिटी हो, कम से कम रोड बनी हो, पैदल चलने की फैसिलिटी हो, करी एंड लेआउट बनने चाहिए। तो प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना का पूरा फायदा उठाया जाए और उसे नए लेआउट डेवलप करें जो मल्टी स्टोरी हो सकते हैं, क्योंकि लैंड की किल्लत है, ज़मीन की किल्लत है। तो एक तो ये, और दूसरा ये कि इंडस्ट्रियल एक्टिविटी को भी डेवलप करना पड़ेगा, इंडस्ट्रियल एस्टेट बनाने पड़ेंगे। अभी हो क्या गया है कि पोल्यूशन के वजह से, एनवायरनमेंट के आधार पर इंडस्ट्री को बाहर निकाल रहे हैं शहर से। उसका भी मतलब है दिल्ली से कितना इंडस्ट्रियल एस्टेट बंद कर डाले, तो पावर प्लांट बंद हो गए, इंडस्ट्रियल एस्टेट बंद हो गए, तो लोग करें क्या अब यहाँ पर? ये करें क्या मतलब, वो या तो धोबी और माली का काम करेंगे, या सिक्योरिटी गार्ड का काम करेंगे, और या फिर वो गिग वर्कर हैं जो उसका काम करेंगे। तो इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी जब तक नहीं होगी तब तक लेवल ऑफ इनकम कैसे बढ़ेगी लोगों की? तो इंडस्ट्रियल एस्टेट हमें बनाना है, प्रॉपर प्लानिंग। अगर हम प्लान ढंग से काम करेंगे तो हर एक चीज़ का नेगेटिविटी कम कर सकते हैं, नहीं तो हर एक चीज़ में नेगेटिविटी है। तो ये मैं अनुरोध, ये सब जगह देखा गया है। कोई शहर है अगर हम प्लान ढंग से नहीं करेंगे, जहाँ इंडस्ट्री ले जाएंगे शहर वहां तक पहुंच जाएगा, फिर वहां कहेंगे यहाँ से बाहर निकालो। तो हमारे यहाँ पर ये हो रहा है कि बजाय हम इंडस्ट्री को बढ़ावा देने के, कभी कभी ऐसा लग रहा है कि हम इंडस्ट्री को दबा रहे हैं। तो इस तरह से यहाँ निकाल जाओ, वहाँ निकल जाओ, इसने रेड कर दिया, उसने ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया, एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट ने पीछे पड़ गए उसके, वो जाए कहाँ लेके? तो इट इज़ फॉर द गवर्नमेंट, उसके लिए एनवायरमेंट फीस लेके प्रॉपर प्लानिंग करके उसको बनाए। तो इंडस्ट्री एक तरफ और दूसरी तरफ हाउसिंग, और उसके साथ साथ प्रॉपर फैसिलिटीज जो है पानी की, जैसे मैंने कहा पानी है, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है, वाटर सप्लाई, एजुकेशन, हेल्थ, सब देने से शहरों में लोगों को इन्वाइट करना चाहिए। ऐसा इन्वाइट मत, चिट्ठी लिख के नहीं इन्वाइट करना है। अगर प्रॉपर फैसिलिटी है तो लोग खुद ही आना चाहते हैं, परिवार समेत लोग आए और यहाँ रहें। और गांव पर भी हमें ध्यान देना है। लेकिन इस समय हालत ये है कि गांव में लोग सरकार पर डिपेंड होते जा रहे हैं। क्यों? क्योंकि आधा एकड़ की जमीन है, वो भी ड्राई लैंड है, लेके वो करें क्या? नरेगा के भरोसे क्या जिंदगी बिता देंगे? जब बच्चा जवान होगा तब से नरेगा ज्वाइन करेगा, और जब बूढ़ा हो जाएगा तब तक नरेगा के भरोसे चलेगा क्या वो? ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है। तो इसलिए हमको इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी को शहरों में बढ़ाना है, जिससे लोग यहाँ आए और गाँव में लोगों को होल्डिंग बढ़े। जो कम से कम 3 एकड़ इरिगेटेड लैंड हो कम से कम, और उसका इक्वलेंट ड्राई एकड़ होगा तो 12-15 एकड़ होगा। तब जाके वो भी कार रखेगा, गाँव का जो किसान है वो भी कार रखे, वो भी अच्छे अच्छे कपड़े पहन के, और वो भी घूमे फिरे जैसे कि शहर के लोग घूमना चाहते हैं। तो बहुत महत्व है, शहरों का बहुत
जी
महत्व है। और
जी
इसमें
सर, आपने ये बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग बात करी कि अर्बन डेवलपमेंट के लिए रूरल डेवलपमेंट होना भी बहुत ज़रूरी है. And I will come back to you on this, but now I would like to move on to Dr. Sneha Palnitkar, whom, hi ma'am.
Hello.
Hello. First, I would like to congratulate you for, I mean, you're about to complete 43 years at AIILSG on 1st August.
Yeah,
Which,
thank you.
yeah, which means you've probably watched like nearly the entire post 74th Amendment period unfold from inside the institution, training the ULBs that the amendment shaped. Like, I want to ask you about how these, like, these, I mean, since the 74th Amendment, the promise that the promise of devolution of powers to local governments, how has it actually materialized on the ground? And like, has the power in practice remained concentrated with state governments? And where does ALSG's work fit into, closing that gap? Um,
Good afternoon to everybody. In fact, I'll focus amendment. I'll focus, on the pre, the say about 90, and the after 92, what were, the changes, happened, in the AILG. Now, see, if I look, from say 83 to 90, this period, that time, the AILG comparatively were focusing on very few, subjects. Few subjects like, we were more working, that time, on the governance, few issues, regular programs of the AILG, UBS, that time UBS was, the program for poverty elevation, limited, that was there. IDSMT was the scheme, Integrated Development of Small and Medium Town. That was the government, the program on which AILG was working. And basically the focus, in that era was limited. Even AILG that time had not many centers, that time. And so, the focus concentration of the capacity building activities was less. But one thing, in that phase, we got involved, in the NCU. NCU came in somewhere, National Commission on Urbanization came about 88. That phase, gave us opportunity for the institute. I'm saying, even the AILG focus, on the internal capacity building of the, all the young brigade that time, who was with the AILG. So basically they focus, on developing the research and the capacity building, capabilities within AILG. And even NCU gave us, lot of opportunities to look, at the ULBs and urbanization, urban growth, the status and functioning of the ULBs, even,
Ma'am, your voice
that
is
era
breaking.
focus, more on doing the
I'm so sorry, but your voice is
not
breaking a little bit. No,
audible.
you're audible most of the times.
Hello, can you
Hello.
hear?
Yeah, I can hear you now. We can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear properly? Hello. Yeah. So, it was more focus, on the fact finding, or the about, the whole governance, urban governance issue as such. But as but one thing, 74 amendment gave involved, in several consultations which were held, pan India, about the 74 amendment, right from 65 amendment till 74 amendment. In fact, several, consultations were organized with the elected representatives, mayors, and, the other NGOs, or, even those who are working in the urban managers. And that gave us opportunity, in fact, to explore the possibilities of research as well as capacity building, across the country. I remember, that as institutionally, we in fact handled a big rally, at the representatives, where, in fact, the discussions were held, for getting reactions, to the various, the reforms which were brought, which were to be brought, under the 74 amendment. but and we had also regional consultations. We had opportunity to interact, meet, even that time, the chief ministers, mayors, and all for discussions. In fact, I got opportunity individually to meet most of the chief ministers, mayor, and we were given a sort of a checklist, which should AILG was quite involved that in the whole process for all the four region consultation. And particularly with that, when 92 93, the 74 amendment came into existence, and particularly 12th schedule, which came with 18 functions, though not mandatory, but most of the state governments, they have accepted that in the conformity legislation. AILG started focusing there on the various issues, what even Dr. Phatak referred to, various issues which came in that 12th schedule, to focus on the capacity building program. I remember we practically, started, working on the all, the 18 functions which, came through the 12th schedule. And even the institute encouraged, the all the research staff, to visit local bodies, see, do, some kind of, the situational analysis or a status report, and, design, the capacity building program for local government. We had a lot of interaction in that phase with the local government, and accordingly we tailored different program which that time was thought that this is a need or requirement of urban local bodies. So several the program, in fact, like it was mentioned, solid waste management, that time was mentioned, the first time institute started working on that. I remember many people told us, oh, this is not the subject to work. But one of the municipal commissioners of Mumbai, he said this subject will, never end, particularly in the total, urban scenario. This will be always there. So, particularly some of the subjects, it started working. Even we started working on the property tax administration. In fact, we did couple of, the big projects, for a Goa government, even for Gujarat government. We did lot of projects for that, and that gave us also insight into the municipal finance, and how this in fact can be discussed with the capacity building programs to be introduced for the local government. The focus was more on the research and the capacity building of various the particularly stakeholders in the ULBs. We were doing for elected representative, the official, as well as even the grassroots level functionary. So I think that was start of a building up
Hmm.
AILG itself was building the capacity, along with it was also building the capacities of the urban local bodies for a good urban services delivery, as well as for a urban governance.
राइट। मैम आपने में भी बात किया था रिसर्च की, तो मैं उस पे बात आपसे करना चाहती हूँ कि लाइक एज CEO एंड मेंबर सेक्रेटरी ऑफ AILSG's वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट रिसर्च सेंटर, I feel like you sit at this at the exact point where applied research is, it can translate into policy and training in
Yes.
ULBs. In your experience, is that translation actually happening? And like, what has been your experience with research and seeing it being implemented on the ground?
Yeah, see, basically, if you are, organization like AILG, research is the basic base, for you to develop, first of all, get, the insights, of the whole working, whole, the service delivery system, governance system, even the other, the political dimensions. See, urban local bodies training and all that, you have a lot of political complexities also research. You come to know several several the different facets of the every area, which you can then putting into when you tailor the urban particularly management, or the governance training the system. I think research is a basic base. Research, I'm not talking a big lengthy research, it can be a fact finding research also, but it's a necessity, which you can take it to the urban reform, which you can take it even to the capacity building, and which you can also take it to the direct interventions at the community level. So I think that's a basic for the organization like AILG to focus on research particularly. And luckily we got opportunity through that time through RCUS, because I was heading RCS, that time, and we got a lot of opportunities which were supported by Ministry of Urban Development then, and to undertake research on practically every factor, of that. In fact, 74 Amendment implementation. The Government of India interested us a big study of that, even international agencies. So we, in fact, studied the impact also and gave, that impact report also to the Government of India to work further. So that was a very satisfying phase, to in fact to understand, the whole urban, the governance, and that was a major, for all of us, that time, whichever, the team was working in AILSG, it was a good exposure, to the different, the urban issues, as well as, the requirements, sort of to tackle, those issues for a various stakeholders, in the urban sector.
Right, right. Thank you so much, ma'am. I will again come back to you. Now I would like to move on to Mr. Hitesh Vaidya. Um, Hi, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. I would like to talk to you about, since we are talking about the larger discussion being the 100 years of AILSG as an institute, I would like to talk to you about the institutional richness that we have in India. I mean, we all know that there's no dearth of urban institutions like NIUA. You have been like former director of NIUA and AILSG, state ULP cells, ministries, mission directorates, you name it. Yet, what we see is that these institutions tend to work in like silos rather than an ecosystem, like an urban coordinated ecosystem. Um, Having led NIUA and worked closely with UN Habitat, the World Bank, and other international institutions on many missions, why do you think that this fragmentation persists despite working towards broadly the same goals? And where can an institution like AILSG, and also by extension other institutes like NIUA, no doubt, um, come into fixing that coordination gap?
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having me here. Uh,
Pleasure.
and you're enjoying the 100th anniversary. One thing which I learned, I started my career with AILSG. तो मुझे वो पाठ पढ़ाए गए जो मैं आज बात कर रहा हूँ, वो पाठ मुझे आज से 25-30 साल पहले AILSG में पढ़ाए गए थे. तो आई एम थैंक यू फॉर AILSG टू रियली bring those lessons. I think Sneha Palnitkar ji was our first mentor actually at that time when we started working on urban issues, waste management and all, and she was pioneer on that. So I think AILSG has really pioneered a lot of it. So, इसकी legacy ये नहीं है कि ये 100 साल से काम कर रहा है. इसकी legacy है ये उनके साथ काम कर रहा है जो शहरों में काम कर रहे हैं. So it's like closest to the institution which is closest to citizens is working that, and what it is doing is it's bringing the leaders up. आज अगर cities हैं तो cities जो आपने question किया क्यों fragmentation है क्या है, it's because we don't have good leaders, and that's what the contribution of AILSG has been कि उसने एक leaders को develop किया है. For me, and I think Sneha ji has already told, and Sudhir ji has also talked about, the first generation has been we started recognizing cities, which is 74th Amendment, JNNURM, where we said, let's recognize cities, let's understand cities, let's build what type of urban infrastructure, roads, waste, electricity, housing, all of that. Second generation, which I call it Amrut Smart Cities, was actually let's improve the services and governance frameworks. कैसे करना है, performance कैसे करनी है. I think right now, we are in a third generation of reforms where we are talking about how do we make cities investment ready? How do we make outcomes and impacts more visible? And that is the change and shift over a period of time. I think like AILSG has evolved, I think cities have started evolving in this. It's not that nothing has been done. Cities have also evolved over a period of time, and now our thinking has changed. And based on that, the coordination, the thinking within the policy circles have been changing. Jairaj Pathak ji talked about 30 trillion economy and Viksit Bharat. I think the question right now is not what happened. Question is how do we look forward? अभी हमें विकसित भारत करना है तो ये इंस्टीट्यूशन जो गवर्नेंस का है जो सबसे क्लोज है सिटीजन्स के उसके साथ हम कैसे विकसित भारत की जर्नी को आगे ले जा सकें उसके में AIILSG कैसे सपोर्ट कर सकता है AIILSG उसमें कैसे भागीदार बन सकता है उस जर्नी में तो आई थिंक सबसे पहले रवि ने कहा वी आर वर्किंग ऑन अ मास्टर प्लान्स in lot of cities. I think the first thing is like right now with the two new census coming up, we are going to have 9,700 towns in the country. And that is right now with 4,000, we have only 28% of the cities have a master plan. So whole idea, what type of planning? अगर हम 30% में ये challenges बात कर रहे हैं और वही planning हम फिर से अगर दोहराएंगे तो वो planning we are just multiplying the problem now into a scale which we don't need. So I think AIILSG can be a great knowledge provider. What type of planning? Do we need master plan? I worked in an IUA. I started in working in master plan in 2019. And today we are 2006. We have not seen the master plan on the Delhi master plan. So do we need that much of time? Do we need more strategic planning? And with these new towns which are coming up, I think thinking has to change that. And I think Jairaj also said that we need to move beyond cities. We need to start thinking of beyond municipal boundaries. Do we need, first of all, how do mainstream census towns, peri-urban areas in the planning process? Second is, how do city economic regions start coming up? I think that's where we need to start planning, and AIILSG has a great role in bringing these lessons and messages and best practices across the world and see what type of planning we really require. And I think 2047 journey, if we have to have, that's the first point we need to do. Second thing, we have all been talking about infrastructure. We created this in JNNR and we created this in smart cities. We created this infrastructure in Amrut. Question is not what we created. Question is how we are going to maintain it. Who is going to maintain this? How are you going to sustain this infrastructure? Nobody's talking about it. So I think AIILSG can be a point which AIILSG now moving forward to 2047 need to start thinking. How do you really start professionalizing this asset management and how cities can learn this professionalizing asset management issues and challenges going to be there. Third area, which I think all of us have talked about, is we all talk about left-hand side of the menu. We know nobody talks about the right-hand side of the menu is finances. How do you improve the finances of the cities? You know, we have now started coming up with a new program called Urban Challenge Fund. Somebody's talked about credit worthiness of the cities. You know, if cities have to go to the private sector, raise funds, how do they make themselves risk averse? How do they start looking at those language? I think Sudhir Krishna ji very clearly said, how do the language of professionalism become the language of cities? I think that's the area where AIILSG can play a great role of converting the language to the language of cities, and cities understand what is the private sector going to be, how to engage with the private sector, how to really read the contract, how to really even frame the TOR while working with the private sector to improve the financial situation and move away from the grant thinking to the actually market thinking. I think that's the third thing. Fourth thing, we all talk about peri-urban area growth, and I think Jairaj ji already talked about it. How do we manage cities within the existing cities? How do we really regenerate our old cities rather than looking outward? Can we look at inward and say regeneration of cities? That's the fourth area which I think AIILSG should start thinking about it, is how do you unlock the potential of existing cities at right now, which we are not thinking. We're only thinking of outward growth, peri-urban areas, and so on. But how do we really move on? Because whatever new towns come, they are going to be the metropolitan tomorrow. So I think you also asked the question of Sudhir migration. Unless we create the hierarchy of cities and the hierarchy of growth centers, we will not have resolve the problem. So we need to create those cluster of growth centers and cluster approach which we need to do it. Fourth area which I think AIILSG can really support, and this is going to be, while we all talk about infrastructure, while we all talk about economic development, is how do you future proof the urban investments? And I think Ravi already talked about disaster resilient planning. Right now, we are all thinking about heat, floods, water security. These are the challenges. How do cities really start thinking about it? We don't have any template. We don't have, I always believe, and that was my idea in IUA also, cities don't need any more knowledge. City needs tools. They need templates, and they need training. They need transfer of knowledge, and they need technologies. These 5T approach has to happen if we want to prepare cities for future proof, and climate has to be how do you integrate and mainstream climate while you are thinking of infrastructure
Yes,
process.
yes.
Yeah.
I really मुझे ये बहुत अच्छा लगा आपने ये बोला कि knowledge हमारे पास बहुत है. हमारे पास बहुत knowledge है and we need to now see how to implement it. And आपने बहुत ही सारे, like you touched upon, I think every major challenge in that Indian cities are facing, कि हम finance पे भी हमें काम करना है, master plans पे भी काम करना है. Language is a very interesting issue जो कि we have recently explored in our edition of Urban Update. बट अभी हमारे पास थोड़ा टाइम की कमी है, हम जल्दी से मूव करेंगे टू द नेक्स्ट पैनलिस्ट वी हैव मिस्टर टिकेंदर सिंह पनवार. हेलो सर. Sir, Tikender sir.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you and I can see you.
Tell me.
So I want to talk to you about the policy. मतलब हमने अभी बहुत सारी, मतलब we have talked about a lot of challenges. I would like to talk to you about the solutions that reside in the policy. Since you have worked at the level of, like, you have worked as deputy mayor, you've also worked in the Kerala Urban Policy Commission. If you had to identify like one or two policy level changes that would most strengthen urban local bodies in India, what would they be? And again, coming bringing it together with the common idea of AIILSG completing 100 years as an institution built specifically to train and empower ULBs. Where does AIILSG fit into pushing that change? Yeah, that is my question.
Okay, so how much time do I have, Ayesha?
5 minutes, 5
Okay.
to 7 minutes we can take,
Okay.
and then we'll do another round of
So give me a buzzer when I'm at 5.
Okay.
So first of all, let me congratulate, and please pardon me because I can speak only in 2, perhaps 3 languages, English, Hindi, and Punjabi. I'm not sure whether there's any Punjabi guy there.
फिलहाल के लिए 2 काफी है.
2 काफी है. So someone who's like asking to speak in Gujarati would be very difficult for me to, well. So yeah, congratulations, Jairaj Saab and Ravi, and of course my guru sitting there. Not the Ravi Guru, I mean, but of course Kirti Bhai. I mean, I always call him my guru. And I'll pick up from where Sudhir Krishna ji left. I think he made a fantastic and fabulous assessment of how cities are. But let me be a little more critical, and that's my reputation. I don't want to spoil my reputation of being critical. Is that, and I buy this, the philosophical outcome of the corporate honchos of the world, all that thing that we are talking about, attracting investments and all. I mean, this is where we've been talking right from the 90s, to be very sure. And we have data from the World Bank, where it's pointed out that actually the major investment the cities have come from the federal government, the provincial governments, and the city governments. Not more than 5 to 7% has come from the private. So why is it that the private is not coming? So when you're asking me policy, and then corporate honchos, the World Economic Forum mentioned, and they said the cities are imploding. We can see those spurts of implosion all around us. We must talk in that. So to me, I look at the most precipitating issue. It's not infrastructure. I think we've spoiled the infrastructure. The smart cities has completely spoiled the way they should have done, in a very bottom up. And Kirti Bhai, you are there, and I remember K.C. Sivaramakrishnan, making this comment and making fun of the smart city framework of urban governance. He said, Tikender, what does a smart city mean? I said, he was my another guru, by the way, in urban. And I asked him, sir, you tell me. He said, it's like writing an obituary of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. So all Professor Sneha, Palnitkar that you brought in, all the efforts that you made, we tried to bury it in the burial ground after the smart city because so now what should be the effort? We've tried different forms and different layers. I'll come to governance little later, but what is the crux? The crux is that right since beginning, we have been thinking as cities as spaces of capital accumulation. There's nothing wrong in it. So, and capital accumulation means you create phenomenal capital in the cities and land, labor. I mean, what is the metabolism in the cities? I mean, land, labor, and capital. And I think Sudhir Krishnaji magnificently has placed. I mean, I don't have to. I mean, I was really elated when he placed all those issues. What is it that is happening? The precarity in the cities. If 90% of the people are employed in the informal sector, they have no say. And if I did this article some time back, I mean, forget about governance. I mean, now I'm not even talking about sustainability. I hate this word called SDG, because sustainability for whom? Is it for the people or for the larger, capital goods that we think are going to sustain the city? Is about that if 50% of the people, eligible people, are not voters. Not because I wrote this piece, I've given the 2011 census and the 2000, of course, we'll wait for the census. Take, for example, my town, Shimla. It has a population of 230,000. There are only 50,000 people as eligible voters. It is not possible. So, it's completely inverse framework. So, I bring this argument of, so policy, I think the policy, I mean, if you ask me, give the cities back to the people. That should be the fundamental departure that we should be talking about. Now, how do we create this vortex? How do we create this fundamental argument of course, 74th Constitutional Amendment is one. How do we strengthen it? Bottom-up approach, planning, whatever. And Hitesh was mentioning the planning process has failed. What about the kind of peripheries in which, I mean, if he was mentioning 9,000, IHS has pointed out some 26,000 villages are on the verge of being urban, which perhaps are census towns. So, but I think, and then we are imagining cities from a purely capital intensive technological standpoint. That look, we give metros. If 35 to 40% of the federal budget goes straight away to the metros and go to, and I remember, Ayesha, it was the AIILSG conference. I kept on watching outside. I couldn't see a metro running there because there was no metro in Bhopal, I remember. And then I was told that the metro, you have birthday parties in the metro. So it's completely reorientation, because whether the people wanted metro there or not, we have not brought that framework together. That's the first. The second policy I think I would talk about is, of course, property tax are important. Jairaj mentioned it very well, but I think also the whole question of the intergovernmental transfers. Where are we? I mean, after GST, the cities have been robbed. And I'm talking from the Chief Secretary's conference, which the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister, addressed in Dharamshala in my state, and that after the introduction of GST, Ayesha, the cities have lost. Nagpur Metro has been renting out for birthday party. Yeah, you can see, I mean, from Anuja Bali, I can see Nagpur is also happening same way. Where after the introduction of GST, the cities have been robbed by almost 20 to 30%. Ayesha, I'm coming. I'll just take one more minute. I can understand what you're trying to say. So I think finances, the question of planning, how this planning process has to be done, Else, what the World Economic Forum is saying, the cities are imploding, and there will be various manifestations. The young, the working people, and you do not know who. We've seen Gurgaon, they're buying flats for 10 crores, but they're coming on the streets because you find shit all around. So where is this framework? So, and I think here is where I would suggest what the role that the all Institute of Local Self Government can play. I don't know whether anyone will allow you to play that role or not. And the only thing that I was telling them is allow at least AILSG to be the secretariat to the All India Mayors Council. What a defunct body it is. What a robust body it should have been, in arguing, in bargaining the federal government, in making stake of their claims. But where is the Mayors Council? Because they do not have the capacity. So I think one of the fundamental things that the AILSG should be doing, I don't know whether they would also like that to happen, is at least be the secretariat to the All India Mayors Council, build their capacities, and then start translating it. Else, the way we are heading, I think the signs are not very, very good. And I think I borrow this from Sudhir Krishna ji. I mean, talk about waste, talk about flooding, talk about climate change, talk about anything. I mean, do you think?
You have really raised the temperatures in the room, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, I'll come back later again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Abhishek sir wants to say something.
Baba. Yes, Abhishek. I can't hear you. You're perhaps mute.
No, you can hear it.
I'm using Ayesha's computer.
Acha, huh.
So yeah. I'm saying that about the All India Mayors Council, it is that All India Institute, the first president was our president.
I know that. That's why I provoke this discussion.
I think because of certain reasons, so it is still in Veer Bhai Singh Bagh where you used to say.
Yeah.
It's still there. So we are trying to speak to them so that we can work together, not
absolutely
AILSG become secretariat. So, but we are trying.
But maybe,
work together, we support them.
They need huge capacity. That's what I'm trying to think.
We're trying.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So much. Yeah, I think you have proved that post-lunch sessions can also be interesting and exciting. Yeah. I think I would like to move on to मतलब मैं बहुत कुछ पूछना चाहूँगी आपसे, but I think we should move on to the next speaker now. Dr. Kulwant Singh.
Am I audible, Ayesha?
Yes, you are audible. We cannot see you though. If that's okay with everyone.
Let me see if I can.
Yes, we can see you. Yeah.
In fact, it has been a pleasure listening such distinguished, people speaking on the subject. And Panwar Saab really raised the temperature, very much so. But I think I only would like to say a few things. All India Institute has completed 100 years. Basically as a service to the local governments, local governance. But we need to ask not only what local governments have achieved, but what they need to become by 2047. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So basically, whatever has been said, I think Sudhir Krishna ji gave a kind of scenario where the cities have to really change significantly. He did mention that urbanization in a way in our country has slowed down, but at the same time, cities are not doing as well as they should be doing. Disparities in the cities have increased so much, urban local bodies, they are very close to citizens. Expectations of the people are also very high from the local governments. cities do manage basic services like water, sanitation, waste, mobility, housing, etc. But their capacities are so very limited. I would say they have constraints of all kinds. So I am actually basically saying that there are current governance gaps which I am focusing on, where we really need to touch upon. There are fiscal weaknesses, low.
Uh, Sir,
uh,
Dr. Singh, yeah, sorry, we are running a little out of time, so
I'll
हाँ,
just take 3-4 minutes
अच्छा
actually.
मैं आपसे असल में पूछना चाह रही हूँ कि
हाँ,
can you
बताइए.
talk about सिविल सोसाइटी पार्टनरशिप्स का क्या रोल है? मतलब वी नो व्हाट हमने अर्बन चैलेंजेस के बारे में काफी बातचीत कर लिया है, वी नो व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस. मैं आपसे एंड गवर्नेंस के अपने चैलेंजेस हैं. आई थिंक टिकेंदर सर ने बहुत ही
Right.
बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से बताया कि गवर्नेंस में क्या क्या इश्यूज हैं. मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि ये सिविल सोसाइटी पार्टनरशिप्स है, जैसे यू आल्सो हेड एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दैट हैज बीन वर्किंग ऑन improving waste management in Indian cities, and obviously AIILSG has been working on
Yeah.
capacity building of municipal bodies. तो ये इस तरह की जो सिविल सोसाइटी पार्टनरशिप्स हैं, ये किस तरह से इम्प्रूव कर सकती हैं एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम, जो इंडियन सिटीज का अर्बन लैंडस्केप है, और and also in the future, like how can it help, how can it improve, what can it contribute?
Civil society organizations can play a very major role. Just as very recently, April 26, new waste management rules have come. But but as a matter of fact, implementing those rules for local bodies, municipal governments, as a matter of fact, is really very, very tough. That is where perhaps civil society organizations, a lot of NGOs can play a very vital role in doing so. I was reading a news just today that there are several cities, they are trying to outsource their formulation of their master plans, zonal plans, and like that. Now, we have, for example, we work in an institution which is called Institute of Spatial Planning and Environment Research. It's one of the non-government organizations, autonomous body. They are helping out those cities to strengthen their planning infrastructure. They are trying to help them doing their master plans, etc., etc. There are civil society organizations which today are working with resident welfare associations very closely, so that they are able to sort of help them manage their own portions actually. So civil society organizations obviously have to be partner organizations of the municipal organizations, because municipal organizations themselves cannot manage particularly the big cities, where, as a matter of fact, a lot of NGOs can play a very vital role. That's what I feel basically. And we cannot really manage the cities. Just municipalities have not really been able to manage the cities, and therefore civil society organizations like ours, for example, as a waste foundation, we are trying to help out municipalities in very many ways, including the capacity building and other aspects of it.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to quickly move back to Dr. Sudhir Krishna, and then I'll go around for closing remarks, to sort of round off everything that we've been discussing so far. Dr. Sudhir Krishna, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes. हितेश सर ने एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग बात करी थी अबाउट मास्टर प्लान्स, कि हम मास्टर प्लान्स में कि व्हेन ही वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट कि AILSG कैसे मास्टर प्लान्स में कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकता है, एंड आल्सो आई वाज थिंकिंग कि कैसे किस तरह से दिल्ली का मास्टर प्लान जो 2041 मास्टर प्लान है, व्हिच हैज बीन इन अ लिम्बो सिंस the past 1 or 2 years, I think, which is the capital city of the country. And considering the number of cities that are going to be added in the next census, I want to ask you कि इसकी वजह क्या है? Because you have been working as secretary of the ministry, और आप इस पे मुझे लगता है एक बेहतर perspective दे पाएंगे कि इसका solution क्या है? Why are we not able to bring our master plans into action? और जहाँ नहीं है वो भी एक इशू है, और जहाँ है वहाँ भी इशू है. तो what do you think about this?
देखिए, जहाँ तक दिल्ली की बात है, वो एक डिफरेंट सिचुएशन है फॉर दिल्ली, बिकॉज बीइंग it is a union territory in some way, and it is a state in some way, and for land use planning and approval of master plan, etc., rests with the DDA and state government, I mean government of India. तो वो कॉम्प्लिकेशन है उनका. जिससे अभी आपने आज के पेपर में देखा होगा कि एक नई मिनिस्ट्री बना दिया है उन्होंने, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हाउसिंग एंड अर्बन अफेयर्स हैज बीन ब्रोकन नाउ इन 2 parts. One is for Delhi and NCR, and the second is for rest of the urban development matters. और जो सेक्रेटरी थे मिस्टर श्रीनिवास, उनका ट्रांसफ़र भी हो गया, 2 नए सेक्रेटरी बने हैं. सो ये गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने जहाँ से दिल्ली की बात है. लेकिन ओवरऑल हम देखें तो देयर इज़ वेरी पिक्यूलियर थिंग. ये हर एक काम में जहाँ फंडामेंटल इम्प्रूवमेंट करने हैं, the one end of the thread is with the municipality or the town planning authority, and second end of the thread is with the state government. तो अभी ये है कि master plan cannot be notified unless state government approves it in all cases. So as a result, the municipalities, you see, if you empower some authority or individual, then the person or the institution takes responsibility also, initiative also. But for the lack of authority, the initiative is also not being taken by the local body. Moreover, town planning is a different authority normally, either development authority or town planning authority. Municipality has to do some planning pursuant to the town planning master plan notified. So it's a very complicated thing we have made. But having said that, what can be done now as a practical measure, it can be called patchwork measure. I can say that it is not exactly a thoroughly legal framework. That technology has become available now to facilitate preparation. अभी टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करके हम मास्टर प्लान मच मोर कन्वीनियंटली बना सकते हैं. वो क्योंकि मैंने किया है वो बेंगलोर में जब मैं था वहाँ मेट्रोपॉलिटन कमिश्नर, तो बेंगलोर के सराउंडिंग एरियाज में जो शहर थे वो हमें कोई मास्टर प्लान नहीं था. सो हैफाजार्ड डेवलपमेंट वाज टेकिंग प्लेस. इंडस्ट्री आ रही थी बिकॉज सस्ते दाम पे ज़मीन मिल रही थी विदाउट एनी रेगुलेशन. तो पंचायत को 25 लाख 50 लाख का फीस दे दिया. पंचायत वाज मोर देन हैप्पी. और लेकिन हैफाजार्ड डेवलपमेंट हो रहे थे इंडस्ट्री के, तो हमने मास्टर प्लान बनाने का नोटिफाई किया प्लानिंग अथॉरिटी. और उसका तरीका ये है कि यू हैव टू हैव, आई थिंक पीछे से बैकग्राउंड साउंड आ रहा है कहीं से, देख लीजिए. सो द मास्टर प्लान द लैंड का मैपिंग करनी होगी, जो अब कंपेयर टू बिफोर यू डोंट इमीडिएटली नीड कैडेस्ट्रल मैप टू सैटेलाइट इमेज.
I'm so sorry. Can everyone please mute themselves?
नहीं, कोई नहीं.
Dr. Kulwant Singh, I think you need to mute yourself. Yes, thank you.
सो सैटेलाइट इमेजरी है वेरी चीप नाउ. अगर हम इसरो से लेंगे तो ऑलमोस्ट फ्री. इंस्टीट्यूशंस म्यूनिसिपैलिटीज को तो वो फ्री में दे देंगे. अगर पैसे भी लिया तो इट विल बी लाइक इन टर्म्स ऑफ few thousand rupees एज आई अंडरस्टैंड. सो क्योंकि हमने किया है वो. सो देयरफॉर स्ट्रेट सैटेलाइट इमेजरी लेके ग्राउंड ट्रूथिंग करनी होगी, जो कि इट वोंट कॉस्ट मच. सो एक फंक्शनल प्लान बन जाएगा, मगर उसको स्टैट्यूटरी नोटिफाई करना है तो वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट करेगी. लेकिन काम अगर शुरू करना चाहे म्यूनिसिपैलिटीज, वेयर AIILSG कैन प्रोबेबली हेल्प देम, बिकॉज नज करने की बात है. बिकॉज म्यूनिसिपैलिटीज हैव गॉट डिपेंडेंट on the state government as far as preparation of master plan is concerned or modification to master plan is concerned. इसलिए वो इनिशिएटिव लेने में आदत छूट चुकी है उनकी. अगर कोई आदमी 25 साल या 40 साल से बिस्तर पे लेटा हुआ है तो उसको कहीं का चलिए चल नहीं पाएगा. वो he won't or she won't be able to start walking. तो थोड़ा सपोर्ट देना पड़ेगा. तो अगर AIILSG चाहे तो AIILSG का make up their mind, तो मास्टर प्लान बनाने के लिए और वो एक्सपर्ट भी गाइड कर देंगे. इट वोंट कॉस्ट मच, इट विल बी ए पिटेंस. और आपको ये भी बता दूं कि अर्बनाइजेशन पेज फॉर इटसेल्फ. एवरी आई कैन प्रूव, जिसको इंटरेस्ट हो आई कैन सिट एंड डिस्कस. Every single bit of investment in urban planning, urban development pays for itself more than pays for the investment. Only thing is timeline may be there. You invest in 1 year, you may get return in 3 year, 4 year, or 5 year. That is why there are schemes of funding, loans, and so on and so forth. So that is not an issue. You prepare a plan, and the planning का fees से ही आपको पैसे मिल जाएंगे. A fees will not be much. People will be very happy to pay fees for something which give them legitimacy for their activity, and definition are defined. उनका क्या land use है, कल को it won't be subject to dispute. So people happily pay. Fees will not be much. It will be reasonable fees. You will pay for it. It's a win-all situation. But what is the win-all means? क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? Because as I said that एक complexity हमने ऐसा framework बना दिया है जो कॉबवेब जैसा है. उसमें म्यूनिसपैलिटी जो फंस के रह गई हैं, दे आर नॉट एबल टू कम आउट ऑफ इट. तो थोड़ा हेल्प करेंगे अगर. I mean, AILSG is one of the few organizations which has got strong, base and network. आप हेल्प कर सकते हैं. Definitely should be possible.
बिल्कुल, थैंक यू सो मच सर. आपने एक जवाब में दो चीजों का बहुत ही अच्छा जवाब दे दिया. I will quickly move on to Dr. Sneha Palnitkar, and I request everyone to now keep their answers brief क्योंकि हमें Q&A session में भी जाना है. Dr. Sneha Palnitkar ma'am, ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
हाय. मैं आपसे एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहती हूँ. हमने सिटीज के बहुत सारे इश्यूज के बारे में बात किया, बट हमारे जो हायरार्की ऑफ इश्यूज हैं, आई थिंक उसमें जेंडर बड़ा मतलब लास्ट में आता है. तो मैं आपसे ये क्वेश्चन करना चाहूँगी बिकॉज आई थिंक यू ऑल्सो वर्कड विद आपने बहुत लिखा भी है फीमेल like women's representation in municipal bodies उसके बारे में. तो मैं उसके बारे में आपसे पूछना चाहूँगी, like since the rise of in women's participation, especially after the 74th Amendment, do you think that actual power that women leaders have actual power, or is it just like a symbolic a power that they have in the municipal space?
Hello, can you hear?
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you.
Yeah, see, with the 74 amendment, particularly, the women, so many, the percentage of women, it brought, into the political arena. See, first it was, the 33, then 1/3, and then 50%. Now, most of the states, they have 50% reservation, for a women. Now basically, if you ask me, the first generation of women, it was a bit different, leadership. And that time, also it was realized they really require, a lot of, capacity building, because they were coming from different, area. Some were doctor, engineer, some were directly kitchen to cabinet, that kind of, the women. So, in fact, and they are, imagine, they are a policy making bodies. 50%, the particularly is reserved, for women. So that inputs were 50% in any policy making, in the any local government. Now they really require, first of all, what required, the training for a municipal act, then laws of meeting, then budget making, then if the possible gender budgeting, because what was the intention, I remember, in fact, I had, attended, that debate even in the parliament through the gallery, when the reservation for women were debated. Basically, the women's issues, they at the city level, they should be, given more focus. And so it was a debate at that time, whosoever, the leaders, they were, in fact, debating. So now to develop the capacities of these women, first policy making, and secondly, again, to serve the community at community level, solve the issues, it's a major thing. Now your question, that whether, it's just a token, or whether, see, yes, in certain cases, it just, sort of a, maybe a token this thing. But now, if you take it, say about 4th or 5th generation of women in local government, many of them, they are vocal now. Means I have seen, right from the 92. In fact, 92 Maharashtra, we had that time no reservation. First, the with the Mahila Dhoran, the came, that was a women, they came. And from that, again, after 93, you had so many, now every 5 years, we had a reservation for women. Now the situation has slightly changed. It's not a token what it used to be in the first generation of women in local government. Those who traveled, from the first different leaders, than what they used to be men. Whether in the political ladder, how much, sort of the weight or a voice they have. That's, I always ask, my all friends, I have lots of friends, because I conducted several, capacity building program for government of India as well as the state government. So I always say in the political ladder, how far they have climbed, in the political ladder to decide even the political, sort of the within political policies, of their respective parties. That's the issue. In fact, we still discuss, and I think that also was, particularly when you give, reservation 50% to women to develop their capacities, not only service delivery, urban governance, but also, sort of the say, in the total policy, because ultimately political parties the city level.
Right. Can you wrap up, ma'am?
So
Yeah.
they
You,
I can talk for hours. Let's stop it
yeah,
here right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, your voice is also breaking. Yeah, but thank you for that answer. I think yeah, we definitely need to empower the existing women leaders that we have, because like just having women mayors or having women leaders in our municipal system is not enough. We need them to be empowered as well. Quickly moving on to Mr. Hitesh Vaidya, sir. Hi, sir. Mr. Hitesh Vaidya.
I can't see him here.
Maybe he left.
Possible.
Okay. Let me then quickly move on to coming to you, sir. Okay. मैं आपसे आप अगर मुझे जल्दी से थोड़ी देर में मैं आपसे 2 सवाल पूछूंगी, क्योंकि मैं ये सवाल पूछना चाह रही थी हितेश
कितनी
वैद्य
कितनी
सर
जल्दी
से।
से?
5
एक
मिनट।
ओ 5 तो बहुत है, 1 मिनट में दे दूंगा, आप बोलिए।
अरे ग्रेट, आई विल होल्ड यू टू दैट।
हाँ
आई विल गिव यू 2 मिनट्स, ओके।
हाँ हाँ।
ये सवाल मैं असल में डॉक्टर
हम्म
मिस्टर हितेश वैद्य सर से पूछने वाली थी, क्योंकि उन्होंने ये इशू रेज किया था लैंग्वेज का। एंड इन अ कंट्री लाइक इंडिया, आई फील लाइक इंडियन सिटीज में ये लैंग्वेज, एंड कंसिडरिंग माइग्रेशन इतना होता है, लैंग्वेज पहली बात तो ये अर्बन इश्यूज में शायद शामिल नहीं होता है, बट मुझे पर्सनली लगता है कि इसको इट शुड बी अ बिगर इशू दैन, I mean, it should be a bigger issue, but I'm not talking about issue in the sense that कि वो एक political issue होना चाहिए, which it is largely, but in a country where there are so
So
many
language, you
languages.
means the literal language or the urban language?
No, literal language.
Literal language,
In a
okay.
country which is so multilingual,
समझ गया।
जहाँ पे हमारे cities which are naturally even more multilingual because of
Absolutely.
excessive migration that happens.
हम्म
म्यूनिसिपल गवर्नेंस में लैंग्वेज का जो एक हमारे पास ट्रांसलेशन सिस्टम्स वगैरह, इस पे अगर आप मुझे थोड़ा सा डिस्कस करना चाहें। आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट इट्स अ वेरी, मतलब ये थोड़ा हम डाइग्रेस कर रहे हैं अपने जो हमारे मेन स्ट्रीम अर्बन इश्यूज होते हैं। सेकेंडली मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँगी कि आपने बहुत सारी क्रिटिकल बातें करी, which we all agree with, I'm sure, mostly, more or less. I would like to ask you, what is the solution?
Okay,
आपने कहा था
great.
कि cities,
ठीक
we
है।
need to give cities back to its
Yeah.
people, तो वो हम कैसे कर सकते हैं?
ठीक है, ग्रेट। देखिए आयशा, मैं लिंग्विस्ट नहीं हूँ, तो मैं बहुत ज़्यादा लैंग्वेज पे नहीं, लेकिन मैं क्योंकि अभी हम लोग केरला वन कमीशन से उसकी पॉलिसी लेकर आए हैं और हितेश साहब भी साथ ही थे, तो मैं आपको इतना बता सकता हूँ कि लैंग्वेज बड़ी इशू है। और हम लोगों ने वी वर माइंडफुल ऑफ द फैक्ट जब हम ये सब काम कर रहे थे, तभी मैंने आपको प्रोवोक किया कि अर्बन लैंग्वेज या लिटरल लैंग्वेज। लिटरल लैंग्वेज पे हमारा इतना ध्यान नहीं गया, लेकिन फिर भी ये था कि क्या साइनेज होना चाहिए, कैसे होना चाहिए, सब इम्पोर्टेंट है। लेकिन एक अर्बन लैंग्वेज होती है। अर्बन लैंग्वेज ये होती है कि अगर केरला में वो लेबर हॉस्टल्स बना रहे हैं, तो जिस तरह बिहारी नहाता है और जिस तरह मल्लू नहाता है, दिन रात का अंतर है। तो वो जो डिजाइन है अर्बन लैंग्वेज का वो ऐसा होना चाहिए जिसमें बिहारी को नहाने में मजा आए। तो मल्लू नहाएगा मतलब उसका अलग है, कोई बाल्टी से नहाता है कोई शावर से नहाता है, तो डिफरेंट है। बिहारी बिल्कुल बाल्टी से नहाएगा, उसको मजा नहीं आएगा शावर के साथ। तो वो लेबर हॉस्टल्स का डिजाइन ही ऐसा हुआ है, एंड आई वाज वेरी प्लेजेंटली सरप्राइज्ड टू नो दैट। तो आप समझ रहे हैं क्या, तो वो अर्बन लैंग्वेज के साथ मतलब इसलिए लिटरल लैंग्वेज तो जरूरी है ही है एज अ लिंग्विस्टिक, एंड आई थिंक आई एम नॉट कॉम्पिटेंट इनफ टू कमेंट मोर देन दैट, बट आई थिंक वेरी पर्टिनेंट, क्योंकि वो मतलब बॉन्ड बिल्ड करता है। लेकिन एक शहर भी अपनी भाषा बिल्ड करता है साथ साथ, जो माइग्रेंट्स के साथ होती है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे मैं केरला से भी बबलिंग हॉट होकर आया हूँ, तो बता सकता हूँ आपको। जैसे अब पानीपुरी मैंने कभी सुना, 20 साल पहले पानीपुरी, अभी पानीपुरी हर स्ट्रीट पर है। तो पानीपुरी वहां से भगा नहीं रहे हैं, उसको असिमुलेट कर रहे हैं, जो सुधीर कृष्णा जी बोल रहे थे। इट्स बिकमिंग पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ एव। और मल्लू खाते हैं उसको खूब, मतलब मलयाली लोग खूब शौक से खा रहे हैं। तो ये असिमुलेट, तो ये जो लैंग्वेज है और उसके साथ जो जुड़ाव है, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पहलू है। और ऑफ कोर्स अर्बन अर्बन भाषा में, लेकिन मैं अर्बन भाषा की लैंग्वेज थोड़ी डिजाइन से भी बोलता हूँ, कि हम किस तरह के डिजाइन बना रहे हैं। क्या हम माइग्रेंट को अट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं, या हम उसको डरा रहे हैं और भगा रहे हैं वहां से। वो भी एक लैंग्वेज है, साइन लैंग्वेज है। अगर आप मतलब आप आज के मौजूदा कमिश्नर ऑफिस, मेयर ऑफिस चले जाओ, वो डरावने ऑफिस होते हैं। वो प्लेजेंट नहीं देते, प्लेजेंटनेस नहीं दे रहे हैं, कि मतलब वो तो वो भी एक लैंग्वेज होनी चाहिए जिससे लोगों को लगे यार हमारा ऑफिस है, हमने हमने जाना है यहाँ पर, है ना, हमारी कुछ दुख तकलीफ है, इसके बारे में कुछ बात होगी। अरे वो इतना खतरनाक होते हैं ग्लास शेड, और ये मतलब वहाँ, मतलब मेरे जैसे को डर लगता है जाकर के ये क्या है, मतलब आप समझ सकते हैं मैं क्या बोलना चाह रहा हूँ। तो वो लैंग्वेज पे भी ध्यान देना चाहिए। आप सवाल है क्या करना चाहिए, दूसरी बात क्विकली मैं बताता हूँ। मैं बहुत ज्यादा फंडा मार के नहीं, थ्योरी में नहीं, मैं आपको बताता हूँ। आपको मुंबई का एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ। और ये मैं पीके दास है, जो मुंबई के जो बहुत जाने माने आर्किटेक्ट हैं, और उनके साथ मिलकर हम थोड़ा बात कर रहे हैं वहाँ मुंबई में। मुंबई के साथ ही जो ऑल इंडिया लोकल सेल्फ गवर्नमेंट के, वो इस भाषा को मेरे से ज्यादा समझेंगे जो मैं बोलना चाह रहा हूँ। वो ये है, अब रीडेवलपमेंट हो रहा है पूरे धारावी का। एक तरीका है जो अभी हो रहा है, और एक तरीका है जो हम बोल रहे हैं। हम बोल रहे हैं कि 90% वहां पर जो लोग बसे हैं, वो एक्चुअली मास्टर प्लान में है ही वो 90% हाउसिंग के लिए। तो अगर वो हाउसिंग के लिए ही आपने फिर भी लैंड को थोड़ा रीडेवलप करना है, और आपने लैंड से थोड़ा आपने रियल एस्टेट प्ले करके उससे कैपिटल जनरेट करना है, वो कोई बुरी बात नहीं, कीजिए। लेकिन आप ऐसा मत कीजिए ना कि आप एक तरफ बनाएंगे 100 मंजिला माला जो आप देंगे, और दूसरे भी आप बनाएंगे 20 मंजिला माला, जो कि 20 मंजिल पे वो लोग रह ही नहीं सकेंगे, क्योंकि वो लिफ्ट नहीं ले सकते जो वहां वर्कर हैं, जिस तरह आज वो हॉरिजॉन्टल ग्रोथ में रह रहे हैं। तो हमारा ये था कि 4-5 तो करना क्या है, करना ये है कि एक जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बॉटम अप सॉल्यूशंस को बिल्ड करना है, उसके लिए फ्रेमवर्क बनाना है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो फ्रेमवर्क गायब हो गया है, और उसको ताकत देनी है। ये ताकत बिल्कुल गायब होगी ये सिस्टम से। और दूसरी बात ये करनी है मेरे हिसाब से, अगले 20-25 साल में ये होगा विकसित विकसित, ये सब यार फिगर है आयशा, क्या है ये। जीडीपी है, जीडीपी का आप देखो ना क्या हो रहा है नीचे, बंट कैसे रही है जीडीपी। एक तरफ 100 करोड़ का घर है, उसके लिए लाइन लगी है, लोग ज्यादा है खरीदने के लिए गुड़गांव में। और दूसरी तरफ आपके पास 5 लाख लोग उसी शहर में से हैं जो कि होमलेस शेल्टर में रह रहे। तो मैं इस भाषा से बिल्कुल भी प्रभावित नहीं हूं, ना मैं इसको ज्यादा अच्छा समझता हूं। तो जो सबसे बड़ा वो है लैंड use on the basis of equity. I think that's going to be one of the fundamental steps which we should be arguing for. उसके आधार पर आप ज्यादा सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंटल मॉडल्स बिल्ड कर सकते हो। और जो सुधीर कृष्णा जी बार बार बोल रहे हैं, उसमें बहुत गंभीर बात है एक्चुअली, वो उसके बिना ये नहीं हो सकता है।
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a little over 2 minutes, but it was a great answer. Thank you so much. Coming back to our last panelist, Dr. Kulwant Singh.
Yes.
Yes. I would like to extend that question to you as well. I mean, to sort of close off the discussion over here, I would like to end with kind of an anecdote कि जब यहाँ पे pollution बहुत ज़्यादा होता है दिल्ली में, तो I was once talking to my brother. I was telling him कि आज तो AQI air quality index काफी कम हो गया, and he said to me, it's like, yeah, the air quality, yeah, the air quality was much better today. I could see I could see the garbage mountain today from my office window, and I was I mean, he said it very nonchalantly, but it struck me as a very profound statement of what it is like to live in an Indian city at this time. हमने अपनी expectations और अपने standards काफी low कर लिया है. So I would like to ask you in this scenario, like how do we hope and demand better for our cities and for ourselves? 2 minutes.
आयशा, बहुत अच्छा सवाल किया आपने और मुश्किल सवाल है, क्योंकि जिस ढंग से हमारे शहर जो है जो सिचुएशन फेस करते हैं, very particularly in terms of pollution, in terms of bad environment.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Sneha, can you mute yourself, please?
Am I audible or not?
Yes, can you please?
I'm just
yes, you are audible. Yes, you are audible.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, you see, we have to really, work accordingly. What is happening is, you mentioned about, the mountain of garbage, you could see because AQO index was better that day. But how are we really dealing with that? I live in Gurgaon and I find that, we are not able to manage Bandwadi, for the last so many years. And Bandwadi is now much more, having garbage. That is also true for most of the cities. So basically, main issue दो हैं, I would say. One is managing the waste, other is managing the transport. And transport also, for example, there is a lot of emphasis, जैसे कहा गया पहले कि metros के ऊपर बहुत खर्चा हो रहा है, but we are not able to take care of, I would say that non-motorized transport, which is much cheaper in terms of building the pedestrian paths, in terms of cyclists and other types of non-motorized transport, but we are just ignoring that. Similarly, so these are the two major reasons which are really impacting the cities. But unfortunately, the role in all these matters of the local governments is rather, they are not able to perform so far as waste management is concerned, and transport is not their business, unfortunately. So if we have to really manage our cities very well, then in that case, we have to really find a right kind of strategy for, managing these issues. And climate change also should really, percolate down. Climate action planning also should be percolated.
Can you start wrapping up, sir? I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just saying these 2, 3, 4 points mainly. Managing your waste, managing your water also, because water also we are polluting little too much and we are not able to reuse our water in any way, where perhaps local governments can play a very vital role. Similarly, sanitation issues in particular, one point which Tikender ji raised, I am really touched on that issue because we have to really change our total strategy. He mentioned about कि 10 करोड़ के मकान गुड़गांव में, मैं उसी शहर में रहता हूं जहां एक रूम में चार लेबर रहते हैं, 2 सुबह काम करते हैं, 2 रात को काम करते हैं. We have to change all that model because that also creates its own kind of pollution. I would not go beyond that and say that, you see, we are not really building the capacity of the local governments. We have practically disempowered them over a period of time. And they are not able to contribute as they should really be doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I think that brings us to the end of our panel discussion, where I'm really grateful to all of the panelists for answering all of the questions and for their bringing their reflective points and their sharing their experiences. of working in the urban sector. I think the floor is now open for questions, and let me just get the first question.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. The first question is, do you think it's fair to increase property tax in cities like Mumbai, Surat, Ahmedabad, Chennai, when every year they get flooded, causing loss of property? It's not mentioned who it's addressed to, but is there anyone who would like to take this up?
I suggest Ayesha take 3-4 questions and then perhaps instead of going one by one, just read 3-4 questions.
Okay, I can see there are. Okay, there are 3 questions here. First is about property taxes. Then there is someone is asking about, given that many states have not effectively empowered urban local bodies, even after the 74th constitutional amendment, should the union government play a more proactive role in strengthening city governance? Can the implementation of this constitutional mandate continue to depend solely on the willingness of state governments, or is a stronger national framework or incentive mechanism now necessary? So it's essentially asking about, is a national framework the need of the hour to strengthen the 74th constitutional amendment? And the next question is, how do you look at waste to energy plants? Okay. Yes. So it's not addressed to any particular panelist, but
if you think I can
Yes.
say quick points, my colleague panelists can supplement or say whatever. As far as property tax versus flooding is concerned, I think emotionally I would say it is a point, but then there are so many things municipalities have to do. For example, they have to maintain road. There are potholes. Some people may say that first maintain potholes, then only I will pay property tax. Somebody says you first clean the drains, roadside drain. Somebody says like that. So I think in fairness, I think this may not be a good argument. But having said that, municipalities must improve the property taxation, make rational and transparent procedure. People are making properties are being bought and sold at inflated prices, which are going up year after year in most cities, and therefore property taxes need to be revised. The two should be dealing, but that doesn't absolve municipalities from discharging or from implementing or doing their work properly of all types that we have discussed before. As far as empowerment of local bodies is concerned, role of Government of India, the 15th Finance Commission had said that if state finance commissions are not constituted and their reports not placed before the legislature by the 31st March 2025, if the CFC grant shall be stopped. And I think hardly any attention was given to this, the direct recommendation and so on. It is not being discussed also. So many states finance commission have not been constituted. I think the Government of India must take lead. The financial empowerment of the local bodies comes in functional terms to a good extent through state finance commissions, and in most states it is very ineffective arrangement, and the Government of India has a responsibility to strengthen the state finance commissions when the 15th CFC, which is term is over all right last year, but still the recommendations are valid. It is not a recommendation for 5 years only. It is a perpetual recommendation. So therefore, that is second part. As far as waste to energy is concerned, I think we have to take very serious look at it. The way the environmentalists are championing the domestic segregation and at source segregation and recycling, but I think it is a very big challenge in many cities, and we should see the fate or the way the workers work who do the handle the in the secondary secondary collection points segregation, a pathetic condition, most unhygienic. It is all migrant workers who work there, So those who champion the cause, they would not like to work there at all, not stand there for more than an hour after photo shoot. So I think we have to seriously think of waste to energy. What are the challenges world over? In Europe, it is there. Of course, there also people are questioning. It is not a straight, simple shot. But we should see how the fumes can be trapped, whether it can, what of research is required. In urban sector, research is not going on. Most work are going on very grassroots level or emotional level. You see, research is required. How to convert waste into energy or a useful product without by minimizing, if not removing the negativities altogether. So I think the option should be kept open but pursued systematically.
Thank you so much, sir. There is this question about, which I find interesting, about do we need a national framework in order to strengthen 74th Amendment? Is there anyone who would like to take that up?
Okay, so because let me just try to engage with this question. Also, because I was the one who reviewed the 74th Constitutional Amendment along with K.C. Sivaramakrishnan. I think we need a national framework, despite the fact that urbanization or urban development is a state subject. But this is less said than done for the simple reason the financial flow takes place from the federal government. And as Sudhir Krishnaji was pointing out, the whole question of finance commission, how the devolution takes place, I think that is important. So framework is definitely required. And also because of the fact when the 74th Amendment was written, migration was not an issue at all. Climate change was not an issue at all. So how do you grapple with these realities? So I think a framework for sure would be required. But as once again I go back to Sudhirji, the whole question of the research, development, science and technology, I think all that should be embedded into that framework. I mean, who is to guide whether there should be a waste to energy plant or not? For example, come to the Himalayas, I think we are grappling, Sudhirji, far more than what you are grappling the plains, because something that we don't produce. I mean, the whole question of EPR, I mean, it doesn't apply anywhere in Himachal. For the simple reason, producing in Gurgaon and dumping in Ladakh and dumping in Himachal Pradesh. So it's a very large space that needs to be seen, and it cannot be seen by the municipality itself because the municipality is not producing. So I think that framework is required. Then I would also like to respond to the why also, because the financial question is not just about property tax. It's also about the the last couple of years, the total cess money has jumped to somewhere around, you have devolution from the GST, from the income tax, but there's another money that is being outsourced from the cities, which goes to somewhere around 6 lakh crore rupees annually. 5 years, that jumps to almost 30 lakh crore rupees. And it is a non-divisible pool. This is the city's money. I mean, who is deciding how this money is to be devolved? It doesn't come even under the Finance Commission framework. It goes beyond that. It's the cess money. It's jumped to almost 1.9 to 2% of the GDP. And so I think it's large money that exists there, and that goes on the wish and the fancies of the federal government. So I think it is important that we talk in that language, and we were very critical of the 16th Finance Commission where they didn't utter a word on that. Of course, they spoke about and then also I think a share of the GST must be parted. I think Maharashtra tried that experiment. I don't know. Jairaj is the best person to guide us whether that succeeded or not, but that they had embedded in the framework of the GST that some portion of the GST collected will be going to the and of course, Kerala was a different model where you had the planning, the 40% initiative of the planned budget was going to the cities. Now, lastly, I think if you could just read that question that is directed to me directly, is about
Yes.
the cities. Something about cities, whether cities would.
Who currently controls our cities, and how do we change that?
So I think there are multiple forces that controls the cities. It's not just one. How do we change that? Once again, I go back. Let cities give the cities. I mean, there are two rights that I've always right to the city. That means the rights of the common people vis-a-vis, you have potholes, you have et cetera, et cetera. So, reclaiming the right of planning in the city, but also right for the city, which means, I mean, the city also requires it. It's legitimate right of due finances, of the legitimate space for planning, and so I think the best thing that can be done, what cadastral maps, Sudhirji, by the way, in Kerala, I mean, you go to, I mean, any data, any patch of land can be layered. I mean, they have phenomenal work that they've done. Of course, that was part of the policy framework that we did, and you can lay it on the cadastral map. I mean, the 13 layers of data that you find on one patch of land. Despite that, what is important, Ayesha, lastly, I want to say is planning has to be parted to the cities, and there has to be a larger framework. This was the essential, quintessential element in the 74th constitutional amendment, in the 12th schedule in 18 subjects. This is the foremost thing, and the foremost thing has not happened anywhere. Maybe Maharashtra, some things are happening. So, I mean, what do you do if you have a city governance? So it is more to do with city governance.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. There are some people who are raising their hands. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat box. Otherwise, we'll not be able to, take that. So as I can see, there's one more question in the chat box. We'll take that and we'll end the discussion. There's one addressed to Hitesh, sir, but I don't think he's here. So as AI and digital technologies become more common, what new skills should municipal officials develop to develop better public services over the next decade? I think if
Aisha, no, before
yeah.
so I want to, because I mean, why? Because I once again in the Kerala, I mean, of course, Sudhirji must be speaking about that. But there's something very interesting that we have recommended in the Kerala policy is the digital town halls. So all your blockchains, and there's a very ideal and very utopian thing, by the way. I mean, and of course, since it's a policy now, they have to do something about that. All the blockchains, all the data that exists in the framework of the city must be subservient to the city governance structure. Now, what does it mean? So therefore, what we've suggested is digital town halls, and at the same time empowering the cities, building their capacities. And there's a proposal to have a digital advisor to the mayor in at least the 6 municipal corporations they have. Because this is going to be one of the largest arenas for capital aggrandizement and capital accumulation. I do not want the cities, of course, that accumulation has to take place. I would always like that space, instead of getting it restricted to 5 large computing firms of the world, to get it democratized, in the city spaces. I think AILSG has a great scope in building these capacities. And I remember meeting Yanis Varoufakis, the former finance minister of Greece, who's written this phenomenal work called Techno-Feudalism in the BRICS conference in Moscow. So both of us, we share the same argument. The cities are the spaces where democratization of digital capital can take place. And I'm glad this question has come up, but I think that's going to be the future. And to me, all the blockchains, all the digital transfer data that is, so you have to empower the city and you have to build the capacity of the city. You can't have you just say something and you don't provide advisors, you don't provide team. That's not going to happen. Yeah. Of course, Sudhir can take over.
Yeah, you introduced very interesting ideas towards the end about techno-feudalism. But I think you've answered this question really well about not just what we need to do, but what we are already starting to do, I think. Dr. Sudhir Krishna, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I think what Mr. Panwar has said is enough. I think he has presented it very well. I think that should be every other state should try to follow it, and AILSG can probably help out others by. I mean, the thing is, which AILSG has been doing also, a candle has to light other candles. So if one candle is lit in one state, it is somebody's job to, if somebody can do it like AILSG. Now, very few institutions are available now. In fact, the role of government of India is that actually. The primary role of the government of India is twofold. In every segment, almost every segment, not in the defense and so on, but in the local affairs, they have to provide supplementary grant, not the main grant. Main grant has to come, cities have to generate resources, and they can, it is possible. But plant ideas, transmit ideas from good ideas from one state to other. A very major role of spreading the knowledge and good success stories. So I think it will work.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. We're already a little over time, but I would, I mean, we had a wonderful discussion. That was the last question, I think. But as we come to the end of today's session, I'd like to invite some closing reflections from AIILSG and INHAF leadership. We have Mr. Kirti Shah here, and yeah, Ravi sir is here. Sir, would you like to have some closing reflections?
Thank you, Ayesha. It's really wonderful to listen all the panelists and the discussion that happened. It's a fortunate to have all of you in this for today's webinar and discussions. And of course, on behalf of All India Institute of Local Self-Government, like I mentioned during the opening remarks as well, that the organization has been working on the empowering the local government since 1926, and of course we have a long legacy in working on these areas. But of course, there are a lot of things need to be done, and based on the today's discussions, there are a lot of important points that we received today, and I'm sure that organization will look into this and will work and will plan accordingly. Of course, we have our Director General, Sir, Sneha, Madam, and all those. We all are working very strongly into the open empowering the local body. At the same time, like mentioned in the morning, organization has been improving their own capacity as well. So we have a lot of areas and the team that we have been adding into our system. We keep adding the new centers and new programs so that we can reach out to the local bodies. Today, like we have more than 55 centers across India. We are trying to reach out to maximum number of urban local bodies to provide support. Like today only we received one of the latest from the Nagaland, and they were saying that we need really a lot of training programs. So nobody really comes to these places. I know the mainland and of course the areas which is very well connected. Many consultant and organizations been working and providing their support. But look at when we're working on the Arunachal master plan, I'm telling you, it's really difficult to reach in some of the cities, and still AIILSG work. And same way, the training programs and the activities that we've been working in almost all the parts, including some of the places in maybe Lakshadweep or maybe Andaman Nicobar areas as well. I think there are a lot of new things that we have learned today, and I'm sure that of course with the ideas and the guidance from all of you, we will be able to work on the incoming time, and such kind of exchange programs and activities. We keep working and we'll keep working into that. As you know that this is one of the years where we are organizing so many activities and programs. And with my last point, that we will be really looking forward to all of you in our World Mayor Forum that is happening in Mumbai as a part of the final celebration of centenary year. And we would be very happy to see all of you and your contribution to the discussions during that World Mayor Forums. And of course, once again, thanks all of you for really insightful your sharing the insights and everything. And thanks all of you once again. Thank you very much. Over to us.
Thank you so much, sir. And last but not the least, thank you to all the participants who have stayed in such large numbers towards the end of the session. And as it started, I would like to hand it back to Mr. Kirti Shah. Thank you so much. Yeah, the floor is yours now.
Oh, thank you very much. I think thank you very much to all the panelists for a very rich discussion, a number of ideas, and very persuasive sort of presentation. So thank you very much. I don't think I want to kind of summarize anything, but essentially want to kind of make 2 points very quickly in about 1 minute. One is this: why we are celebrating 100 years of All India Institute of Local Self-Government. We should really address the institutional part, the institutional dimension of the urbanization process and city development processes. We talk about I think resources. We talk about investment. We talk about infrastructure. I think we require a large number of very innovative institutions. We're going to think the institutional part afresh, and I think there can't be better occasion than 100 years of all Indians to make a self-government. So that's number one. Number two is this, that there is no running away from the fact that, despite all that has happened and is happening, there's a great need to strengthen local self-government. We go on quoting, the statistics, that South Africa and Brazil is a 6% of the GDP, and India is just about 1%. But there's a huge gap, which really means there's a lot to be done in terms of capacitating and capacitating, not only in the context of resources and finances, but every conceivable way, there's a lot to be done. So that's the second point. Third point, and I think which I have learned from the National Commission on Urbanization, and something that I'm repeating all the time is this, that one of the important new identity of the cities are that they're not only dormitories, they're not only places to stay, they are not only, I think, housing. And therefore, the municipal function, the function of the local self-government is not only providing water, but looking after the whole dimension of cities' new role as engines of growth. It requires a huge amount of rethinking in terms of institutional development, how we look at cities, how do we plan them, where do we find resources from, and the whole aspect of employment generation, livelihood creation. It's a huge task, and I think we need to come up and do that. And the last point, something that is very dear to my heart is this, that we have been kind of looking at, I think, an informal sector, not the kind of depth it requires. If it generates 30% of GDP, and if 80%, 70% of the employment is in the informal sector, we can't really equate it, in the context of slum improvement and slum development. It requires a huge understanding in terms of how do we integrate the informal sector economy into the urban economy. But we're not thinking about this at all. We're essentially talking about solving some problems. And I think time has come, a very important time has come, where we do look at informal economy as an integral part, as a life force of our cities, because that is where people are, that is where employment is, that's where real life is, and then we really kind of provide space and dignity to all that. So that's kind of very quick reflections. Thank you once again to all India's local self-government for partnering this. We agreed to do not one, but I understand 3 webinars. We hope we will sit together and plan the other 2. So thank you very much for your contribution and participation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Can we have a quick screenshot photograph? Jasna, are you there? If we can
Yes.
switch on our cameras, I think that would be nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Good evening.
Okay. Bye-bye.
What is up?
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guru, Shimla kab aa rahe ho, bhai? Shimla kab aa rahe ho? I'm waiting for you to come to. Anyway, we'll talk later.
Coming soon, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sudhir, sir. Thank you, Kirti sir, and thank you all of you for joining.
Congratulations and best wishes. Congratulations and best wishes to AIILSG.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhir sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Ravi sir, thank you very much.